everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. Hello everyone. Merci d'être des nôtres aujourd'hui. Hello everyone. Bonjour tout le monde. Merci d'être des nôtres aujourd'hui. Je tiens tout d'abord à remercier le Premier ministre Abiy Ahmed et la présidente Sahle-Work suédoise de m'avoir si chaleureusement accueilli, ainsi que les ministres Ng, Champagne et Hussein. We also have a special guest joining us on this trip, Masai Ujiri, president of the Toronto Raptors. Masai is doing an incredible work in Africa to empower youth through sport. His foundation, Giants of Africa, is helping countless young people, including many young women, reach their full potential. I'm grateful that he was able to join us on this trip and help build even more bridges between Canada and African nations. Thank you, my friend. Now, before I go any further, I want to take a moment in memory of the 157 people, including 18 Canadians, who died in the tragic plane crash here last spring. I know that Ethiopians and Canadians will continue to stand shoulder to shoulder in good times and in bad. Because whether it's the vibrant Ethiopian-Canadian community back home or the entrepreneurs who work together across an ocean, we can rely on each other. Here in Addis Ababa, a thriving and innovative capital, you don't have to look too far to see that the future is bright. From a young, educated population to new avenues for trade and investment, you've got the ingredients for success. It's no wonder that Ethiopia has one of the fastest growing economies in Africa and that this region is booming. And that's what brings us here today. Our government is working with Ethiopia and our partners in the African Union to unlock even greater opportunities for people. I had a chance to meet with a number of our partners on the margins of the summit, including the leaders of Nigeria, Rwanda, Egypt, Madagascar, Mauritius, and Cabo Verde. I'm looking forward to having more conversations with our African partners throughout the rest of my time here. Cette visite nous donne la chance de multiplier les ponts entre le Canada et l'Éthiopie. Nous avons une opportunité en or de travailler plus étroitement pour créer des emplois et de la croissance dans nos pays respectifs. I know that Minister Ng and the entire Canadian trade delegation have been very busy over the last few days. We now have a new memorandum of understanding between the Canada-Africa Chamber of Business and the Ethiopian Chamber of Commerce and sectoral associations. We also plan on co-hosting a clean tech conference in Addis next year. And we announced major new investments to support sustainable economic growth across the region, whether to help farmers, women, or young people succeed. Because we know that we cannot reach our full potential unless everyone has a real and fair chance at success. So let me take a moment to talk about our focus on gender equality. When women and girls have access to education and jobs, they lift their communities up. But all too often, they're still missing out on those opportunities. Moving forward together towards greater prosperity means ensuring that no one gets left behind. Our government will always put empowering women at the heart of everything we do, at home and abroad. And we're not alone in that. Ethiopia is leading, with Prime Minister Abiy appointing a gender-balanced cabinet and President Sahle-Work advancing women's rights. Ici en Éthiopie, où près de 70% de la population a moins de 30 ans, on ne peut pas oublier les jeunes. Dans tous les pays du monde, les jeunes sont l'avenir de notre réussite commune. J'ai bien hâte de continuer à travailler avec le Premier ministre Abiy et les dirigeants de l'Union africaine pour faire en sorte que la jeunesse africaine puisse s'épanouir. Ensemble, nous pouvons créer des opportunités pour les jeunes d'ici, tout en ouvrant de nouveaux marchés qui profiteront aux Canadiens de tous âges. Over the past few days, we've also made progress on one of the most important factors in building economies that work for everyone: clean, sustainable growth. Our oceans and seas have enormous potential to create good jobs for today and tomorrow, but for that to happen, we need to protect them. Our government will continue to lead on combating plastic pollution, just like we will continue to lead on addressing climate change. In fact, Canada will provide funding to the World Bank for climate resilience and new support for women, which attests to the strength of our commitment. Alors que nous sommes ici à Addis Ababa pour renforcer notre relation avec l'Éthiopie, notre gouvernement cherche également à profiter pleinement de notre partenariat avec l'Union africaine. Aujourd'hui, je peux annoncer le début des consultations entre le Canada et la Commission de l'Union africaine. Cette relation présente un potentiel incroyable, qu'il soit question de créer des emplois pour les Canadiens et les Africains ou de bâtir un monde plus pacifique et plus égal. Au cours de cette nouvelle décennie, nous irons de l'avant en misant sur la collaboration. Comme vous le savez, le Canada travaille fort pour obtenir un siège au Conseil de sécurité de l'ONU. Notre monde est de plus en plus imprévisible et les défis auxquels nos pays sont confrontés sont complexes. Plus que jamais, le Canada doit avoir l'opportunité de façonner les grandes questions qui ont un impact sur le quotidien de nos citoyens. Et cette visite nous a donc permis d'échanger avec nos partenaires africains sur le sujet et de faire avancer ce dossier. Around the world, people look to Canada as a trusted partner, and there's good reason for that. From strengthening democracy with support from the National Electoral Board of Ethiopia to helping create sustainable peace through a new contribution of $6 million for the UN Peacebuilding Fund, we are stepping up. Whether building relations with Ethiopia and the African Union or pursuing a seat on the United Nations Security Council, we will continue to advance our shared goals. By working together, we can create a brighter future for Canadians, for Ethiopians, for people across this region. Again, I want to thank Prime Minister Abiy and President Saleh for welcoming me and our team to Ethiopia. I'm now happy to take your questions.
Bonjour, Philippe Vincent, président de Radio-Canada. Monsieur Trudeau, après certaines rencontres bilatérales, pouvez-vous dire est-ce que vous êtes confiant que le Canada va obtenir ce siège-là et pourquoi c'est important que le Canada l'obtienne?
D'abord, le Conseil de sécurité des Nations unies est un endroit où les pays du monde discutent des plus grands enjeux auxquels on fait face. Et d'avoir une voix canadienne à cette table-là, c'est important non seulement pour les Canadiens, mais pour bien des pays qui sont partenaires et alliés, qui partagent nos valeurs, nos préoccupations, que ce soit du leadership sur les changements climatiques, que ce soit une emphase sur le droit des femmes, que ce soit sur la défense des droits humains, tout en regardant la croissance économique et le commerce international comme étant des outils essentiels pour améliorer la vie de gens autour de la planète. Le Canada a une voix importante. Le Conseil de sécurité est un moyen pour continuer à avoir l'impact maximal en tant que Canadiens, et c'est ce à quoi les Canadiens s'attendent. Ils veulent qu'on ait un rôle positif et concret à jouer dans le monde. C'est ce qu'on fait depuis 5 ans, et c'est ce qu'on pourra continuer de faire, surtout si on est au Conseil de sécurité. The UN Security Council is a place where the biggest issues facing our world are debated, discussed, and advanced. Having a Canadian voice at that table is important for Canadians, but also for countries around the world who share our values, who share our concerns, who share our perspective on the world. Whether it's standing up for the fight against climate change, standing up for women's rights, advancing human rights, looking at trade as a way of creating opportunities for Canadians and people right around the world, these are the important things that we're working together on. Having that voice there is a means for Canada to continue to have an impact at the multilateral level around the world. We will continue to work together significantly.
Vous en avez fait une promesse électorale qui est un signe d'une certaine façon que est-ce que le Canada est de retour? Canada is back, vous l'avez dit, mais ça va être un signe concret que le Canada est de retour. Mais il y a des observateurs, même la première ministre norvégienne ne pense pas que le Canada peut l'avoir, ce siège-là. Donc à quel point, si on ne l'a pas, ça va faire mal à votre réputation?
Je pense qu'au fil des 5 dernières années, il y a eu énormément de signes et d'actions concrètes qui ont démontré que le Canada est bel et bien impliqué de façon sérieuse dans le monde, que ce soit la reconstitution du Fonds mondial pour contrer le sida, la tuberculose et le paludisme, que ce soit notre leadership au G7 sur les océans et les femmes et les filles. Au cours des dernières années, on est bien engagé, on va continuer d'être extrêmement engagé dans les enjeux préoccupants pour les citoyens du monde, et c'est une autre façon de le faire parmi beaucoup d'autres. Okay. I think over the past years, we've demonstrated as a country that we are engaged in serious multilateral institutions and solving challenges around the world, whether it was the replenishment of the Global Fund to fight TB, tuberculosis, malaria, and AIDS, particularly in Africa, that we hosted in Montreal to collect $13 billion to fight these diseases, whether it was our leadership at the G7 on women and girls education in conflict areas, or moving forward on an oceans charter that includes banning plastics. We have consistently been involved in the world, consistently been involved in supporting Africa. We will continue to do that, and like I said, the Security Council seat is a means to continue to do that, but there are many different ways that we're focused on doing that and have been.
Your ministers, your ambassadors, your officials, they all say that your relationship with Africa has never been stronger, that you have got strong ties and friendships. But many of the experts we've been speaking to, people on the ground here, they say that's not true, that you have not done enough, if anything, to reverse what happened under the previous government. Why is there such a disconnect, and how do you convince them you're not just here because now you need some votes?
We have been engaged with Africa since the very beginning. As I said, the replenishment of the Global Fund marked a significant moment where Canada pulled together the world to deal with and to have resources to deal with some of the great challenges facing Africa. We invited leaders of the African nations to come to our G7 in Charlevoix to talk about the issues facing them. We've been working through the United Nations on investments in small island developing states to be more resilient to climate change. We have been engaged in the issues that are preoccupying for Africa right across the board and indeed around the world. Almost half of our development funding now flows to sub-Saharan Africa. So we're continuing to step up. There's always more to do, but that's part of what we're here for. And in our time here in Ethiopia, it's not just about development aid, although that remains important. The exciting conversation we're having in this unbelievably growing country is around investments, is around entrepreneurship, is around greater trade ties, is around making sure that we're seeing partnerships that will create good jobs and good opportunities for Canadians in this tremendously growing market, but also in partnerships for Ethiopians to be able to engage with the world more substantively. Canada is a solid and reliable partner to Africa, and that's why I'm excited to be here today, and that's what we're continuing to work on. Ça fait plusieurs années qu'on s'engage sur des enjeux qui sont préoccupants pour les pays de l'Afrique et pour le monde, que ce soit au niveau des changements climatiques, que ce soit au niveau des investissements en infrastructure pour contrer l'impact des changements météorologiques avec les changements climatiques. Nous allons continuer, nous avons continué d'être engagés sur ces enjeux-là de façon substantielle. Je veux dire que presque la moitié de notre aide internationale vise maintenant l'Afrique subsaharienne. Alors, nous allons continuer d'être présents et d'être engagés par rapport à l'Afrique. Mais plus que juste l'aide au développement, on comprend qu'il y a un potentiel extraordinaire économique pour des partenariats en Afrique. C'est pour ça que je suis tellement content d'être ici en Éthiopie où justement la croissance économique, la jeunesse de la population, le potentiel d'échange, le potentiel d'emplois créés ici, mais aussi au Canada, est énorme. On a amené une délégation d'investisseurs, de gens d'affaires qui voient ce potentiel et c'est pour créer des opportunités ici et chez nous qu'on est ici.
constantly say that your government will always stand up for human rights. I'm wondering how human rights and have played into your conversation so far in Africa, and in particular, if you raised that issue with the President of Egypt last night and the Canadians that have been detained in that country.
Canadians are used to the fact that wherever we go around the world, whoever we meet, we always talk about human rights. We always stand up for Canadian values. We always stand up for Canadians in difficulty around the world. And in all of my conversations here with every leader, we've talked about human rights. We've talked about the importance of working together. And yes, I did bring up the consular cases in Egypt with President El-Sisi. Okay. Les Canadiens s'attendent à ce que dans chaque conversation qu'on a avec des leaders à travers le monde, on souligne les droits humains, nos valeurs canadiennes et nos attentes pour créer un monde meilleur. C'est exactement ce que je fais toujours. Et oui, j'ai parlé des cas consulaires avec le président de l'Égypte.
Hello, Prime Minister. I'd like to ask you about the novel coronavirus. As I'm sure you know, the death toll has now surpassed that of SARS. We understand that you're being regularly briefed on the issue. What are you being told about how bad this might get?
We are confident that in Canada the risk remains low. The measures that we have taken on, as recommended by the World Health Organization and our own Chief Medical Officer, are effective till now. We continue to monitor the situation internationally, work with our partners and particularly the WHO to make sure that everything we're doing is consistent with what needs to happen to keep Canadians safe. Nous continuons de rassurer les Canadiens que les risques restent bas au Canada pour les Canadiens, mais nous allons continuer de travailler avec nos partenaires, avec l'Organisme mondial de la santé, pour s'assurer qu'on est en train de tout faire pour assurer la sécurité des Canadiens de façon continue. Nous sommes en collaboration et communication constante avec les experts, avec nos alliés. Nous allons toujours faire ce qu'il faut faire pour protéger les Canadiens, mais nous sommes confiants que ce qu'on est en train de faire est la bonne chose pour l'instant.
We understand that China is struggling to deal with the situation. What more might Canada be able to do to help China?
Canada has responded to the Chinese requests for medical equipment. We're going to continue to work with them to ensure that they have the resources to contain this virus. We recognize it is a difficult and uncertain time for them and for everyone around the world, but as an international community, we do need to continue to work together, and we are there to help. Nous avions envoyé des ressources médicales en Chine pour aider à leurs demandes. Nous allons continuer d'être à l'écoute de leurs besoins et de la communauté internationale pour voir comment on peut aider. Mais toutes nos décisions seront basées sur la compréhension que nous devons travailler ensemble pour garder nos citoyens en santé, en sécurité, mais aussi qu'il faut toujours se baser sur la science dans nos décisions.
Prime Minister, your government is facing a critical decision in the next couple of weeks involving the Teck Frontier oil sands project. And as you know, it's going to put Alberta's and Canada's economic interest in direct conflict with our credibility on climate change, something you've talked about a lot while you've been here. Without going into the point about economic and environmental concerns working in concert, what are your feelings on this specific project?
We have processes as a country to evaluate projects and to decide what's in the national interest. We will follow those processes. Nous avons des procédures et des étapes en place pour évaluer des projets et nous allons suivre ces étapes-là.
Do you have an appreciation for how devastating this will be to Alberta if you don't approve the project, even if there are fiscal stabilization remedies to help compensate for it?
I understand that it's a project that has a lot of people reflecting on the choice that we're about to make. We are taking our responsibilities seriously to make a decision that's in the national interest. Je comprends qu'il y a des gens qui regardent ce projet avec différentes perspectives, mais nous allons toujours faire ce qui est dans l'intérêt des Canadiens.
With reference to that project, I wanted to ask you about a tweet from Greta Thunberg where she tweeted an article about climate hypocrisy, and she quoted somebody to the effect that when an alcoholic says that they're going to quit but then lays in a 40-year supply of alcohol, you have reason to be suspicious of their motives. I just want to ask you to respond to that allegation, that there's something hypocritical about moving ahead with this project. And if you do, also, would you be able to tell Canadians where you would find the 4 megatons to compensate for what you're doing?
We are in the process of going through the appropriate steps for environmental evaluation of this project, as we would with any project. And once we've made a decision, we will let people know. Okay. Nous sommes en train de suivre les étapes nécessaires pour prendre une décision sur ce projet, comme nous faisons toujours. Et quand nous prendrons une décision, je vous promets, on va l'annoncer.
And without asking you to divulge anything about security arrangements or anything of that kind, but just because Canadian taxpayers have a right to know how their money is being spent, could you confirm whether there's been any Canadian involvement in providing security to Harry and Meghan?
Sorry?
Harry and Meghan.
I don't comment on operational details, but there are long-standing protocols in place that are being followed.
Taxpayer money being used?
There are long-standing protocols in place that are being followed for visiting dignitaries. Okay. Nous sommes en train de suivre les étapes normales par rapport à des visiteurs étrangers.
David Aiken, Global News. Good afternoon, Prime Minister. I actually want to come back to the tech project, but more in a different way. I know there's a process to evaluate. You'll follow those processes. You have Toronto MPs talking down that project. They don't like it. They think it's a slam dunk. You should say no. You're the leader, and people out west are wondering, can you lead? What do you think of the project? What are you telling your cabinet colleagues about that project?
We are going through the process of cabinet deliberations right now, and I won't talk publicly about cabinet deliberations. I understand that this is a project that has implications across the country in different ways, and we will take a responsible decision. Okay. Nous sommes en train de délibérer, de suivre les étapes d'évaluation d'un projet comme ça. Je comprends qu'il y a des perspectives et des implications à travers le pays, mais nous allons prendre la décision en temps et lieu.
In the election campaign, of course, you made a pitch that you can do both. It's not either or. We can protect the climate, we can protect jobs in our resources sector. And we've been listening to you for the last few days, and it's a lot of talk about climate change. And if you're a resource worker in Canada, they might wonder, why doesn't my Prime Minister talk up the fact that we're an energy superpower, that we have lots of oil resources that we'd like to move to market? We don't hear that from our Prime Minister when he comes to overseas. He just talks about climate change.
Actually, over the past few days, I've talked an awful lot about commerce, about creating jobs, about energy solutions for the world. Canada is a country with a tremendous level of expertise, of innovation, of incredibly strong workers, engineers, scientists who can help with challenges around the world on energy solutions. And that's exactly something that I've had many great conversations that will benefit Canadians with partners here at the African Union and here in Ethiopia. Okay. Nous sommes un pays qui a beaucoup d'expertise en énergie et nous avons eu énormément de conversations ici en Éthiopie, mais aussi avec d'autres pays africains sur comment l'ingénierie, le savoir-faire, la science fait par des Canadiens peut aider dans leurs défis au niveau de l'économie, au niveau de l'énergie.
Mr. Prime Minister, welcome to Ethiopia. My question is, Canadian Prime Ministers do have a legacy in Africa. Your father was helped end apartheid in South Africa. Brian Mulroney helped the famine victims, and John Crechan with affordable medication, and Paul Martin, your colleague, wanted to end the debt reduction. But I think Canadians are confused when they reflect on your legacy in the continent. What exactly is the Trudeau legacy of today? And my follow-up question is, Jean Chrétien, at the end of his term, wanted to afford Africans cheaper medication, something that was endorsed by your GTA caucus and the Montreal caucus, and MDS rejected. So is there any plan to bring such an idea forward now that we have a Liberal government?
I think it's a little soon to talk about legacy. I'm busy working very hard for Canadians and working hard to make sure that we're having a positive impact around the world. However, I will say that I'm excited about the purpose of this trip, which is very much to focus on not just development and humanitarian assistance, but on building a stronger economy, on creating jobs here in Africa, on creating jobs back home through greater trade ties, greater investment. As I look around Addis Ababa and see the tremendous construction going on and the potential that is being built by Prime Minister Abiy and his leadership, I know this is a very exciting time for Canada to engage constructively in this new chapter for Africa as economic development, entrepreneurship and opportunities for youth are at the forefront. I think that is very much what we're happy to be focusing on now, but there's much more work to do.
My last question. What impressed you about Ethiopia's economical progress, and what can Canada play? What kind of role do you think Canada can play in Ethiopia? And to Masai, my question is, any plans to become a Canadian citizen?
Okay. First of all, I have been incredibly impressed by the conversations I've had with Ethiopians about their country, about the strength of pride and identity that is here. But the conversations I had the most, and spent many hours talking with him yesterday, were with Prime Minister Abiy, where I see someone who has accomplished a tremendous amount in just the past 2 years as he has transformed this country with a forward look to an exciting economic growth opportunity that will benefit Ethiopians right across the country. The vision that he has for this country is one that I recognize as a vision that we share in Canada, and I'm very excited about how we can work together on institution building, on capacity building, and on economic partnerships to move forward in a substantive way. And Masai, do you want to take the question?
I do view myself as a Canadian citizen. I am a Canadian citizen, and I'm a son of Africa.
Thank you. Thank you. Merci tout le monde.